My presentation today is going to be on essential oils and emergency preparation. You might wonder, what does essential oils have to do with emergency preparation? I'm not going to turn this into a political discussion, although it could very easily turn into one. But by the time I'm through, I hope you understand the connection between essential oils and long-term emergency preparations. I'm going to discuss two things. First, civil unrest. And as we all know, that is a big potential problem right now. And the second is economic collapse. So civil unrest, as you remember, last year we had a lot of rioting going on. There were deaths and fires. We had people taking over city blocks of Seattle, declaring themselves a sovereign nation. We had all kinds of protests about police and different things. Even in our small community here in Utah, in Provo, we had protests and civil unrest going on here as well. All you have to do is look around at the political climate that we've got going right now, and you can see that civil unrest is a distinct possibility again. With the pandemic, the possibility of further lockdowns and mask mandates, you could see that it wouldn't take much before we were in a situation where civil unrest was part of our lives. Those that are proponents of civil unrest know that one of the easiest ways to cripple our economy and our nation is with the transportation collapse. If we were to have the railroads and or the semis, the trucks, stop for whatever reason, that would bring about unrest really quick. As we saw from the pandemic about a year and a half ago, when they first locked down, lines in supermarkets were very, very long. You'd get your food and it would take you 3 hours to check out. That was not a good situation, and it only took a couple of days for the stores to have major shortages, and it would be worse if we had a transportation problem, knowing that there would be nothing coming tomorrow or the next day or the next week or the next month. And once the stores are empty, they're empty, and that's the end of that. The second thing I wanted to mention is economic collapse. We've had a great economy for years. Anybody that has studied economics knows that an economy like this cannot last forever. It has to have what they call correction or a crash. A year ago, they were pumping billions of dollars into the banking industry. The Federal Reserve was pumping billions of dollars per night into banks to keep them afloat. You may have heard of the term quantitative easing, and that's just a way of saying bailing out the banks so that they don't fail. If the Fed is concerned about banks failing and is pumping billions of dollars into banks, then you know it's got to be bad. And so that's a distinct possibility in our future. In an economic collapse, we would have, of course, have loss of jobs. That would be one thing that would keep you from purchasing oils, is if you lost your job and you didn't have the money to buy them. It would also cause the supply chain to collapse or be disrupted at best. And if we can't get the oils to the warehouses, then we can't get the oils, especially if there's a transportation problem with it at the same time. You can see how, if you live near Pleasant Grove, Utah, and I believe Anchorage, Alaska is another one, you could drive or walk or something to there and get what they have on hand. But that's not a viable option for a lot of people. And so having a supply is essential. Are you scared yet? That's not my intention. But there's an old axiom that says, if you're prepared, you shall not fear. And that's why I believe that we need to be prepared in many areas of our lives. But I've come to realize that essential oils is a place where we can prepare. And if things are disrupted and we can't have access to healthcare like we do today, then these other alternative methods of healing and healthcare will become essential. Why use essential oils in an emergency? What are the value of essential oils? Well, for one thing, they're very compact. Just a small bottle contains, a 15 milliliter bottle contains 250 drops of whatever oil's inside. They're very concentrated. Sometimes you even need to dilute them with fractionated coconut oil, because some of the oils are hot oils is what they call them, and need to be diluted, or they might be a little too strong for you. You don't have to have medical professionals to administer essential oils. You can do it at home. You don't have to have special equipment like syringes or things of that nature in order to use essential oils. And so those are some of the real advantages of essential oils. There are books available that help teach you about essential oils. Excuse me for a minute. Cynthia just texted me and said she can't get on, and I don't know why. I'm going to pause the recording for a minute. So the last thing we talked about was some of the advantages of using essential oils. There are books available. This is one of the books, The Essential Life. There's another one called Modern Essentials. I have both of these books. This is the one that was on top when I grabbed it this morning on the way to work. And so that's why I have that book. But they're all really good books, and they help a lot with knowing what to do with the oils, knowing it lists all of the oils and all of the blends. One word of caution, the older books on the blends, for example, On Guard is called Protective Blend. They didn't use the doTERRA trademarked titles for the blends, but I understand, and I haven't seen it yet, but I understand that they had, the new books have the doTERRA trademarked titles for the blends. So it lists all of the oils and lists what they're good for, what they're composed of, where they come from, what plants they're derived from, and what their uses are. The books also have sections on different maladies, different conditions that you might have, and you can look up a condition and see what oils are good for that and get an explanation of the oils and the differences. And that is a very valuable thing. There's a section on cooking with oils, and I really like this. My routine is on Sunday mornings, I make an omelet. And last Christmas, the company produced 3 oil blends for cooking. And one of them is Italian, one of them is tropical, and one of them is Mexican blend for Mexican food. And so I put a drop or 2 in my eggs as I beat them up before I make the omelet, and it gives it a little extra flavor, and it's really good. The section on cooking with the essential oils is very, very good section, and there's a lot we can do with essential oils, far more than I ever thought was possible. There's a section in the book on cleaning with oils. One of the best things for cleaning is lemon oil. People put it in their dishwasher, they put it in their clothes washer, they use it in a spray, you use peppermint. In fact, I use peppermint. I have a spray bottle and I have some peppermint in it, and I use it not only on my shoes for odor protection, but I spray it on my garden. And it's really good on your garden because it will it will keep the bugs away. The bugs hate the peppermint smell, and so I use it that way as well. Okay, what oils are great for emergencies? If you've got a cold or the flu, On Guard is a really good thing to use. When I get sick, I take the drops and put 3 or 4 drops under my tongue and gargle with it and swallow it. I'll do the beadlets, I'll do the drops, the cough drop like things, and I'll also use the oil in water. I'll drink it that way as well as goggle it. So On Guard is a really good thing to use when you've got a cold or the flu. If you've got a toothache, clove is fabulous for a toothache. Clove numbs you, and you can put the clove right on an aching tooth and it will kill the pain until you can get it addressed. Infection or bacterial use, oregano is really, really good for infections. I'm a marathon runner, and in 2001, one of my favorite races is the St. George Marathon. I've done it 34 times. And in 2001, I was clipping my toenails a few days before the race, because you don't want your toenails to be long because you can get blisters under the toenail and then you lose the toenail. In doing that, I somehow got an infection in my big toe, one of my big toes. I did not know about the essential oils in 2001. doTERRA hadn't even been created yet. And so I ran the marathon with pain in every step. Every time that foot would land on the ground, there would be a little sharp pain. And you can imagine what running 26 miles with a pain every other step, right, left, would do to you. That was not fun. About 5 years ago, I did the same thing. I got an infection about 4 days before the marathon, And because of my understanding of essential oils, I took oregano and put it straight on the toenail, and I did it about 2 or 3 times a day. And within 3 days, the infection was gone, and I had absolutely no pain during the marathon. And boy, I'll tell you, that was a great, great blessing. Another another good oil is tea tree oil. That's a good one for infections. Tea tree oil used to be called Melaleuca, but the company didn't want to confuse people with a company by the name of Melaleuca that also sells essential oils. So they've renamed it tea tree oil. So if you have Melaleuca in your collection from prior to the name change, that's what tea tree oil is Melaleuca oil. And it's really good for infections as well. If you're not sure what to use, frankincense is a go-to oil. Frankincense is so good for so many things. Some people use it for almost anything. It's good for fighting cancer, inflammation, a lot of different uses for frankincense. So if you don't know what to use, then that's a really good one. If you get a cut or you have an open wound, Helichrysum is a great oil to use. It heals the wound quicker, and it either reduces the scar or eliminates the scar altogether. And so for cuts and open wounds, Helichrysum is the one to use. If you get burned, lavender is a really good oil for burns. As the story goes, the way they discovered that was a worker burned his hands and saw a big vat, assumed it was water, shoved his hands in. It turned out not to be water, but to be lavender essential oil. And it killed the pain and healed him so quickly that led to knowing that lavender is really good on burns. Not only regular burns, but sunburns as well. Sunburns are just too much heat on the surface of the skin. Your skin gets really, really hot, and you need to draw that heat out of your skin, and lavender is a good oil to do that. Fennel is good for licorice cravings. Okay, it smells like licorice. Probably won't help with your cravings, but I just seen if you're still awake. If you get an upset stomach, peppermint is really good for an upset stomach, and you can do it topically, you can do it aromatically, or you can do it internally. Those are the 3 ways to use essential oils. Topically, rub it on your skin. Aromatically, put it in a diffuser and let it get in your olfactory system. Or internally, just drink it or eat it. And peppermint's really good for upset stomach. Another thing that's really good is Digest Zen, and that can also be used all 3 ways for upset stomachs. If you have bugs, if you find yourself in a tent and you got bugs, then Terra Shield is really good for that. In the last week's webinar, Jeanette told a story about being in a meeting. It was actually a holistic health course, and she got stung by a bee. And the people there had some Terra Shield, and they had a caplet. They opened it up, took it, and rubbed it straight on the sting, and the pain went away, and pretty soon the swelling went away. So it's really good for that. If you have respiratory issues, Breathe is really good for respiratory issues, and you can rub it on your chest like Vicks, or you can do it um, um, you can do it aromatically. You can put it in a diffuser and do it that way. This is not meant to be a comprehensive list, but just to give you some ideas of some of the things that you can use essential oils for in an emergency. Now, you can make your own blends. A friend of mine, when they get the cold or flu, they use a combination of On Guard, lavender, melaleuca or tea tree oil, peppermint, and breathe. So you can make your own blends if you need to. I made a blend for healing. I had a meniscus tear from running, of course, and I had surgery, an arthroscopic surgery to repair it. And after the surgery, I did a blend of lemongrass, frankincense, oregano, and deep blue. I would first put on this healing ointment that my running partner gave me, and then I would I mixed up the lemongrass, frankincense, and oregano in a roller bottle and rolled it on the knee. And then after that, I would put deep blue rub on it, and the deep blue would kill the pain and help drive the oils into the area, then to the meniscus. 2 weeks later, I started running, and 4 weeks later, I ran a half marathon. I don't believe I'd have been able to do that without the essential oil help that I got. If you have bitter tasting water, if you're having to use water out of a well, a lot of times they have a ton of minerals in them. You can put drops of lemon essential oil in the water and get rid of some of the bitter taste from it. If you have inflammation, the melaleuca or tea tree oil, frankincense, and deep blue are really good for that. I think I covered that a little earlier. I want to show you my running partner this morning when I was talking about doing this presentation tonight. She's the one that got me in doTERRA, and she said to, if I can find the right thing, here we go. She said to talk about the Family Essentials Kit. The Family Essentials Kit is a really good starter kit for emergency kind of disaster use. As you can see down here, it has lavender, lemon, peppermint, tea tree, oregano, frankincense, deep blue, breathe, digest zen, and On Guard. They're only 5 milliliter bottles, so they're not the bigger bottles, they're the smaller, but it gives you a variety of stuff. And as you'll notice in my presentation, I mentioned every one of these oils as a possible use in an emergency situation. So you can see that it retails for about $166, but with your wholesale discount, it's $125. So that is one good way to get started quickly and inexpensively with some emergency oils that you might need. Now, I mentioned the book. This one is The Essential Life. This part of the presentation is unrehearsed, which will be really obvious really quickly. But I wanted to show you that how you can use a book like this. In the back, there's a few different sections. Here's a recipe index for the food section. oil properties. I wanted to show you something on the oil properties. I looked this up a little while ago, and under anti-inflammatory, I don't know if you can see that, but it lists the different oils that are good for anti-inflammatory. And as you can see, almost every oil is listed, but it's got different categories. And so you can just pick a category and see what oils are good for that. There's sections that are, those were the blends. And then it's got the different oils themselves, different maladies. And you can go through, and here's the individual oils. You can go through and find an oil and see what it's good for. Now, in the very back of the book, it lists, this is the bibliography. And so you can go through this and, no, excuse me, it's the index, not the bibliography. I'm sorry. But it lists things like bee sting, page 25 and 252. So you can find out what to do for a bee sting. You can find a malady that you have and go in the index here and find, here's detoxification. You can see a whole bunch of different references for that. It also has the different oils and where they're documented in the book. Let's see, what else have we got here? Scarring, what you can do for scarring, sore throat. So these kind of books are excellent resource to know what to use. I'm going to go a little bit out on a limb here and say you can use almost any oil in an emergency. You might find a need for almost any oil. So the more oils you have, the more prepared you're going to be. And the more prepared you are, the less you're going to worry, and the better resources you'll have for taking care of issues and problems. So that's my presentation. Thanks for watching. I'm Gil Porter. If you have questions, you can talk to Cynthia or Mark Dayton. They know me very well, and then they can get a hold of me, and I can get with you if you have specific questions. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.